coefficient and how does that help us. Let's go out here to see what coefficient is. This is coefficient.io, and basically it helps us to unlock the full power of our spreadsheets. So essentially how we're going to use coefficient is we're going to connect that to two products. We're going to connect that to QuickBooks Online and also to Excel. And we're going to be able to pull different types of tables, data tables from QuickBooks into Excel, including the vendor table. And that will allow us to take one more extra step, and I'm going to walk through that here shortly, giving us a way to bridge the gap between what's in QuickBooks and how we want our automations to run. So coefficient, we might be able to set this up on a one-time only basis, and you should be able possibly to get that for free. I think at some point after 30 days you have to continue. Here it is, Chat Pro for 30 days. That's basically what the free version is. But if you can get all of your data and it doesn't change much in those 30 days or even after, then you might just need to do this one time, connect it to coefficient. If you want to continue to use it, you're going to be paying $49 a month. That's on an annual plan, so that's $600 a year. The data sources are going to be QuickBooks, and I can access 3 different QuickBooks files at this point with this. I think Excel just comes with coefficient. So if you don't have this, you're going to need to get it, because this is essential, at least to how I'm performing this multi-vendor Zapier automation at this point. To this page, you can walk through how to actually set up coefficient, get your account started. It's very, very simple. It doesn't take very long, just a few minutes. And then we're able to get into, and I'm going to show you what you can do here. So I've got an Excel file open. I'll drag it over here so we can see it. And I've got some different tables here. I've got my QuickBooks accounts table. I've got QuickBooks vendors. I've got QuickBooks items. And what I want to show you is how easy it is to bring this information in. So once you have coefficient connected to your Excel file, you can click on the coefficient, you can say open sidebar, and you can say import from. And in this case, I have my file, I click on that, and I can get data from a report, or you can see my list of reports here, or you can go to objects and fields. In this case, this is what I chose to do, and one of my options is vendors. If I click on that, you can see all the data. Let's see, click next, and you can see what information is selected to import, and you can pick all kinds of different information in here, and then you can click import. That will create a tab. That's what created this QuickBooks Vendors tab, and in it you will see the ID of your vendor. So QuickBooks provides a specific ID for each vendor, what the display name is. Company name doesn't really matter. Even the rest of this information is pretty irrelevant for the purpose of our discussion today, but you can see the display name. So if I click on this filter here and I type in Vimeo, it's going to show me the same thing it shows in QuickBooks. It's Vimeo Plus. It's the same name. Now the problem is Vimeo Plus does not equal Vimeo, and there's no way in Zapier to do what we call a fuzzy search and say, okay, find Vimeo in this field. Does it contain the word Vimeo? And then return the ID. And this is basically what we're trying to do. So what I did was select all on this again. I created another vendor note or another spreadsheet, and basically I just linked this up to the vendor table, and then I just copied and pasted, and in this case I just shortened the list down to 5 that I wanted to show you. And so these are the display names. They haven't changed from what's in QuickBooks. You'll see I actually have 2 Salina area chambers. This is a real thing. You've got multiple vendors for the same vendor. It usually happens with fast food or eateries, things like that will show up, but you're going to have a case where you have multiple, so it's good to have this as an example. And you'll see I have Vimeo Plus here. So I basically just copied and pasted this and this, and then I created another field called GL Account ID and GL Account Name. So I had created this QuickBooks vendor list from coefficient. I also did the same thing with QuickBooks accounts. So I have all my accounts. If I scroll up to the top here, you'll see kind of that same layout. And every GL account that you have has an ID and has an account name. So in our example here, we're looking at multiple vendors who have a single line item account that they plug their expense or their bill to, and you want to be able to tell Zapier, and then by turn input that information into QuickBooks, what account ID we want to use, as well as what vendor ID I want to use. So I'm basically pulling data from this field, from this table and this table into this vendor notes here. So I've got, I had a VLOOKUP set up to pull this information. You can do it manually, or you can do it with formulas. It's probably going to be easier to do it without the VLOOKUPs, except for the account name, because this information isn't going to change, but your display names could change if you have this tied directly, like if you did a VLOOKUP or you did equals, this cell here or whatever, those could change over time as you add and subtract vendors. So you kind of just want to get this to be a static list of vendor names and the vendor ID associated with it. Another way you can find a vendor ID is to go back to QuickBooks, and if I go to, excuse me, there we go. If I go to expenses, go to Vimeo Plus, you'll see up here at the top in the address bar, you'll see 717. That happens to be Vimeo Plus's number, 717. And we can go back and verify that in Excel. And you'll see Vimeo Plus right down here is 717. Perfect. Okay, so basically I assigned an account ID. So I know that anything from ProWare is going to be software expense. Vimeo Plus is also software expense. You'll see that the account IDs are the same. So you're going to see how this works here really, really quick. All right, so if I go back to Zapier and we say, okay, open up Excel, and I tell it to find a row, and I tell it that what my Microsoft account ID is, so here, and then I tell it where the storage source is. In this case, I have it in OneDrive. I have my name of my workbook, the name of the worksheet, which was vendor notes, right? That's vendor notes right here. And I tell it the lookup column. So I want it to look up the display name. All right, so let's go back here. And again, display name, that's coming off of the vendor list. So what's showing up in QuickBooks Vendor, all right? And what we're gonna find out real quick is this lookup value is gonna come from error parser in the vendor name field. So let's go out there and I'll show you where that is. There it is, vendor name. So we want it to look up that name and hit continue, all right? So I'm actually gonna go back, we're gonna start this over real quick. We're gonna use Vimeo as an example. Let me find one with Vimeo. There we go. I'm gonna continue with that one. And same thing, find a row. It's in my Microsoft account, where it's located, the name of the vendor, and I'm gonna continue. And now I get to test it. So I'm gonna retest my step here, and it should not work, okay? It says, hey, failed to find a row in Microsoft Excel. The reason is it can't find Vimeo. Yes, Vimeo exists in a field out here, but its name is Vimeo Plus, all right? So you have two options that you can do to fix this. One is you can change the display name here, or two, you can change your vendor name in QuickBooks. Either way is acceptable. I'm probably gonna opt in for this particular video, I'm gonna change it only in coefficient. All right, and the thing is what's gonna happen is this is the bridge. I can just change this to Vimeo. Now, the important part is this is static, so this changes this here, doesn't change it in QuickBooks, but it does leave the ID the same. And that ID is what we're gonna use to post this into QuickBooks. So we can just change the display name here. You still can change it in QuickBooks if you want. I'm just gonna change it here, all right? So I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna go back to Zapier, and we're gonna try to retest our step here. And this time it did it, right? So it went out to Excel to find out information. So what it did is it returned all of the fields in that particular table. So it showed the ID, the display name, the account ID, and the account name. It should show all of that information in Zapier, and it does, okay? So this is gonna give us the keys to moving on to the next step for QuickBooks Online, all right? So now let's keep going. Let's hit continue. And again, we gotta connect to QuickBooks. And whether you have a bill or you have a credit card receipt or you have an expense transaction, a credit card and expense are the same thing, even a check, I would create a bill. And the reason is because in recent months, QuickBooks has added the ability to attach files and notes to transactions automatically. The attachment, where you had to manually attach it, now you don't have to do that if you just create a bill. And it's good because if the bill, if let's say, well, we'll show you this Vimeo credit card receipt, it'll enter it as AP, but at the same time, when the payment processes or in the bank fee for QuickBooks Online, it's gonna find that transaction sitting out there and it's gonna match it automatically for you. So it's another piece of the automation process. So we're gonna do create a bill. We're gonna use account based in this case. I've got disconnected to my UCE QuickBooks account. I'm gonna hit continue. And here's where we start filling in the gaps here. So the vendor ID, you could put the vendor name, you could search for it in QuickBooks, but if you plug in the vendor ID number, that's the number it's gonna use. It's gonna find 717, it's gonna say that's Vimeo Plus in QuickBooks, and that's gonna work for us. We've got our transaction date. Transaction date came from error parser, and you can see where they came from normally. Now, I'm not using it in this particular case because these transactions were so old. I have a lock on my QuickBooks file so that it does not process transactions past a certain date. So I hard-coded this one in just for the sake of doing the video. So you would not do this. You would actually select your document parser and error parser, and then you would find your field in here that we had for invoice order date, okay? So you plug that in right here. Actually, you delete that and plug it in right there. So you just click on it just like this, and then you'd have it. So I'm going to change mine just because I need that for this video. Okay. Due date, we don't have that built into AirParser at this point. So we could, if you know the terms, well, I guess you won't know the terms because each vendor will change. Most of mine are going to be due on receipt because they're credit card transactions that are processing right away. But there are ways to go out and see if there's a due date in AirParser that you can try to see if you can enter that as a field in AirParser. In fact, we could just show you what that might look like. If I go to AirParser and I go to the extraction schema and I say add a field, and I could say add due date, and I would say extract the due date from this document. And I always like it to be in a certain format. So if I do year, month, date, format. All right, I can hit save field. And I added it down to my list. I need to hit save schema. And then we would need to reparse something. So let's say I go back here and click on this one, and you'll see it says reprocess needed. I can click on that, and it's starting, and we'll see if it comes up with a due date or not. In this case, I don't think it will, but it might come up with the same thing as the subscription date. So due date is 8/25/26 in this case. So that's when it ends the subscription. So that's really not helpful for us in this case. I'd probably get rid of this and not worry about it, especially if the payments process is automated in QuickBooks. Then when the bank feed comes in, it's going to match with your AP anyway. So there are some other things you can do there. This is one of the reasons I don't have this particular setup this way. Each one of my vendors has a separate task, a separate inbox for AirParser, separate Zapiers, instructions, just so I can fine tune exactly how I want that data to come into QuickBooks. So when you combine a bunch of different types of bills and receipts, you're going to have probably some limitations in terms of what you're going to be able to pull data-wise from here. So like total amounts is something that's going to be there, vendor name, descriptions, invoice numbers, or receipt numbers. So that's why I stuck with a limited list here. All right, so bill number, you can use, in this case, we determined invoice receipt order number as an option. And then you see this one, it kind of pulled something odd from it, but the bill number typically will be your date of your transaction. If you don't have an invoice number, you'll pull the bill number. So let's see if there's anything in here. Yeah, this just pulled something funny on this particular one. Let's use invoice order date. We use this a lot internally if there are no invoice numbers. So occasionally, it's oddly enough, you'll find that sometimes there aren't. Okay, and then let's scroll down here to, we don't need to worry about department, currency, exchange rates, global tax calculations. We need description, that's optional too. I'm putting these little stop signs in here so I can identify these transactions after they hit QuickBooks Online. So in my case, I'm gonna turn around and delete these when we're done, but I usually use a lightning bolt to indicate that this was automated, right? So it kind of gives me a visual cue that this was an automated transaction. All right, so you can use other description information that you have added to your AirParser. You can do all kinds of stuff in here. Amount, that's from the total amount, also from AirParser. So those are your cues of where that data is coming from. I'm gonna scroll down. If it's billable, is it billable to a particular customer? In this case, especially for this use case for multiple vendors, simple transactions, you're not gonna have customer in a class in here at all. Once you start getting into that realm, those are more complex, and then it leads you back down the road to where you need to do a singles inbox in AirParser singles app for each vendor. All right, then it shows accounts. Okay, so account IDs coming from Excel. So this came from our work that we did in here by pulling the coefficient data, by using coefficient to pull the data from QuickBooks and creating a second tab that we could organize our data and be able to pull our information from. There's our GL account ID 144. It's gonna be software expense, and then here's our memo. So here's our download URL. This is such an important part. So you can go in, this is gonna put this in the memo field for us in QuickBooks so that we can access that at any time. All right, so we're ready to go. I'm gonna hit continue, and we're gonna test this step out. And it's gonna say, hopefully if it runs, there we go. A bill account was sent to QuickBooks Online about 0 seconds ago, so let's go out to QuickBooks. And I'm gonna click on the search navigation, and I changed the date to today's date. There's 10/29/108, so let's click on that and see what it looks like. So got Vimeo Plus, not Vimeo. So because it used that vendor ID, that's how it came up with the Vimeo Plus. Got my bill date, due date, there's our bill number that we created. There's our description, there is the account, software expense that we expected, and we've got our memo field here. All right, but we're not done. We got a couple more steps here. So we need to add our attachment, right? So let's move on to that step.